And we are live. Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock. Different day. Normally a strategy show at 9 a.m., but today we have day baseball. 6-game slate, locking at 12:30. 2 games after 3 o'clock, which is usually the worst in the world, but we have it here, nevertheless. I'm Josh Engleman, by the way. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. I'll break down this slate. We're going to take our time, go through all the stacks that are reasonable. We'll hit on some pitching. We'll build a couple lineups in the single game sim, and we'll get on out of here. This is what we got for today. Only 3 games tonight. We will still have MLB Live Before Lock tonight at 6, from 6 until the moment Bellman and I finish off the slate. I doubt we go the full hour. We've got NFL tonight. But you will get myself a Matt Bellman. My sim just finished running, so we can definitely take a look at that. I'll still have to run another one in about a half hour or so. I'm hoping we can get most of the lineups before lock. I'm not confident in that, but it would be very nice if it happened. That's for sure. Let me run my oh shit, not that one. Let me run my top stacks, top pitchers. But more importantly, let's check and see what I have to start the day. What are my exposures to start this show? I'm curious. Earlier, I had a boatload of the Washington Nationals. We're going to find out if I still do. So that's going to be not playing as much on the early because it's not as good of a slate, but playing nonetheless. 25 lineups. Definitely ready for baseball to be over. Ready for basketball to start. But baseball is here, and we're going to break it all down. As I look at my exposures, a lot of the Cardinals, which I'm not surprised by. We've got the Cardinals in Coors as the highest owned team. They are a part of my lineups. The Royals are the second highest owned team on today's slate. I have a lot of the Royals. The Rockies are the third highest owned team. I am fading that. And then the Nats are actually one of the 3 lowest owned teams, and that is my big stand. But we'll start in Coors. 29% of the ownership on today's slate for hitting is going to the Rockies and the Cardinals. That's around 25% apiece to Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. In that 15 to 20 range on Mason Wynn, Brendan Donovan, and Jordan Walker. And then on the Rockies side, it's basically 10% for Blackmon, Tovar, Doyle, McMahon, Toglia, Hilliard, and Goodman. Jones to a degree. There's just a lot of ownership coming in here. Stochastic has the Cardinals number 1 because they're clearly number 1. 6-run implied total for the Cardinals, 5.5 for the Rockies, 5 for the Royals. So the Cardinals are a full run ahead of anybody else on this slate. I have them as a better value than we do, but either way, they look like a pretty good value. Only Goldschmidt and Arenado are north of 5K. They're eminently stackable. Short, second outfield MPE, first, third catcher in your first 5 spots. Happy to get to that. I also want I would want the Rocky side, but they're so expensive. Stochastic has them number 2. I have them number 3. But the Colorado Rockies are dead last, whether it's my stuff or Stochastic, in terms of value. $6,200 Brenton Doyle. $5K for Tovar, McMahon, and Toglia. The only cheap guy in the lineup is Aaron Schunk, and he sucks. Like, next level terrible. The fact that he's 3,300 is hilarious. So I am fading the ownership of the Rockies. I just find them really difficult to get to because of their pricing. And pitching, by the way, is a total tire fire. There's not an actual good pitcher anywhere on the slate. We'll get into that in a bit. But as I look at the Cardinals, I mean, Mason Wynn is a guy I get to constantly. To get a shortstop in the leadoff spot on the road in Colorado, like I have him under-owned at 18%. Now, I do have Goldschmidt and Arenado a bit over-owned, but at the same time, their relative value is fantastic. On the Colorado side, really the only guy I'm getting to is Blackmon, but you can see the exposures for the Cardinals on the screen right now. The 2xing Mason Wynn, over on Donovan, over on Goldschmidt, over on Arenado, over on Herrera, Walker, Segis. Like it's 20. I have 20% plus of all these guys. I'm more than happy with that. We looked at it yesterday in the single lineup sim, and it's the same sort of situation here today. When you're not getting to this Cardinals Rockies piece, it's really hard to accumulate all of the fantasy points that you need before you're putting yourself too far behind the 8-ball. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I'm just absolutely jamming the St. Louis Cardinals. They are in 26% of my stuff. If we look at the other team that's heavily owned, I have the Royals second in top stack. Stochastic has them third, so they're flip-flopped with the Rockies. But the difference between the Royals and the Rockies is that the Royals are also second in value for me and for Stochastic. Now, they're also second in ownership. They're a little bit more owned than the Rockies, but that's a little deceiving. For the most part, the entire Royals lineup is owned the same way as Colorado. The only guy that isn't is Bobby Witt. And that should be incredibly obvious to everybody. Yeah, like, of course, Bobby Witt is more owned. He's one of the best shortstops in baseball and is on a completely different level than what's in the Colorado Rockies lineup. So it's not shocking to see Bobby Witt outpace everybody else. But for the stack, you know, like Pham and Perez are at 17. Everybody else is at 10. That's just like Colorado. So I am getting to Kansas City the same way that I'm getting to St. Louis, because I see these spots as the easiest filler. Am I eating the chalk on Bobby Witt? I am. More than okay to do that on a 6-gamer. And I'm getting a lot of Tommy Pham. But I'm really concentrated in those top 3. So it's not that I'm stacking Kansas City a lot, but the 3-man combo of Pham, Witt, Perez, outfield, catcher, and short, that will help you fill out anything you're doing, whether that's a Cardinals stack or if you look at what I've got, because this is the game I have the most of. I might also add, Michael Wacha is currently projected for 33% ownership. I don't have a single share of it. I, on the other hand, am stacking the Nats, particularly their first 5, outfield, first, second, third. I'm much higher on Washington than we are. I'm not all that concerned with going up against Michael Wacha. Their run total is awful, but at least they're at home. Do I like getting to Washington? No, they don't look good. Now, we have them dead last in top stack. That is not the same path that I am on. I have them 7th. Now, we're not talking about like greatly different percentages, but the White Sox are on this slate. They are unequivocally worse than the Nats. So I'm okay with it. Not to mention, the Angels lineup is also shit. They do look slightly better, but not the same sort of cost effectiveness. I mean, it's not like the Rockies are good. They just happen to be playing in cores. Cruz, Wood, Yepez, Luis Garcia, and Tena, outfield, first, second, third. I like the top of this Washington lineup, but I like it even more just because of what they're facing. Like, the fact that Wacha is 33% owned at 9K, I might add. I mean, we're talking about a guy that isn't a strikeout guy. Michael Wacha has a 22% K rate to lefties and a 20.5% K rate to righties. He's given up 101 point. Oh my God, neither one of those numbers are correct. 0.174. He's got a 174x ISO to righties. He's not really missing as many bats, just under 11%. I have no problem getting the team on the opposite side of Michael Wacha being 30% owned. So the most owned pitcher and the most expensive pitcher. I want to target that. I'm sorry. I just do. Michael Wacha is getting 30% ownership to me. And I want to add here, I have Michael Wacha projected better than the site does. We have him at 22% top 2 pitcher. I have it at 25. We have him 11% top value. I have it at 14. I have a positive Michael Wacha projection, and I am still not going to touch him today because of his price. What do you guys think about Michael Wacha? Do you guys want to join me on the Nats? I'm pulling up FanGraphs right now to look at the active roster strikeout rate for Washington. So they haven't typically been a big strikeout team, but like if Joey Gallo's playing, things change. Active roster against righties. Washington on the season is 26th. Their active roster, 26th in strikeout rate. They have a 94 WRC plus. That's not good. I want to be very clear here. It's 25th. But they don't K. They have no power, which is kind of the problem. Nasim Nunez and Jacob Young have nothing. Dylan Cruz should, but doesn't. But I think the Washington team is the most interesting because of the ownership coming into Michael Wacha. He's getting way too much respect here. Way too much respect. So I don't want that at all. And I'm very happy with my exposures. For me, 26 to the Cardinals, 17 to the Royals, 19 to the Nats. 62% of my hitting exposure is going to those 3 teams. I do have a little bit of a stand on the White Sox, who are relatively low owned. I have more than 10% of the Brewers, but they're also relatively popular. RegKell85 said, do they have a good park factor? It's basically neutral, leans a little hitter friendly, 102 to runs, 104 to righty power, 103 to lefty power. So a little bit of a bump, but definitely not a pitcher's park. Right, Steven, that's a great point. Stephen Leibowitz says there really isn't a good K pitcher out there today other than Rocker, and he's probably not going past much over 70 pitches. Yeah, I completely agree. Eric Garcia, thanks for being here, man. Glad you're here. Glad you're able to glad you are able to watch. I'm going to take a sip of water. All right, maybe that'll make me talk better. I'm going to take a look at the Brewers quickly, since that's my 4th most exposed team. You've got Mitch Keller on the opposite side. Now, this is a slightly different spot for me than the Wacha one, because I am stacking against Mitch Keller, who's pulling north of 20% ownership. You know, I have around 15-ish percent to Turang, Contreras, Mitchell, Bowers, and Ortiz. But I'm also getting Mitch Keller. I have 40%. So I'm 2xing Mitch Keller, but I'm also over the field on the Milwaukee Brewers. So I have both sides of this one, and that makes me feel pretty good. I would much rather have Mitch Keller than have Michael Wacha. Ice Through wants to know about the White Sox. So I have a little bit. I had them yesterday too, which didn't help. But if I want to be very clear, I don't really have the White Sox. I have a little bit of Vargas, a little bit of Andrew Vaughn, but Lubob is like the gold standard one-off today. You've got Lubob, 11% owned, which to me is under-owned. He's 4,200. You've got a lefty on the hill in Tyler Anderson. Anderson, you know, better against righties from a power perspective, but still gives up a 160 X ISO. Lubob has a 207 X ISO against lefties over the past 2 years. Very happy to get to Lubob. Not as excited about getting to the rest of the White Sox. They are the number 1 value stack, but Stochastic has them 11th overall. I have them 12th. I don't want a lot of the White Sox. I am fading Tyler Anderson, who's 23% owned. I am going to go ahead and get 0 of him. But Lubob, I think everybody should be going crazy for. I think you should be actively looking at Lubob as a guy that you should fill out your lineups with. But yeah, Sosa, not so much for me. I don't think they look good as a whole. I think overall they're just too shitty. I hate saying it like that, but it is what I mean. I think they're a little too shitty. I mean, I'm really not getting to much else. Like, I don't have the Pirates, the Tigers, the Rays, the Rockies, the Rangers. I have a little tiny bit of the A's, but not an amount that is worth like discussing, I don't think. Are you guys looking at anybody else? Because I'm happy to dig into one of these teams and look at it, but I want to know what you guys are actually looking at. Have we gotten any more lineups either? That's a question. We had all of the 1 o'clock games before we start. Okay, we got Angels and White Sox too. Lubob is in the lineup. So the only lineups we're waiting on right now, Cardinals, Rockies, Rangers, A's, the 3 o'clock games. If we get any of that in the next 15 minutes, I'll call that a win. And I will rerun everything for the end of the show when we're building out our individual lineups. All right, Jason Gordon, Pirates. Keppa Necklace says Angels. I'll look at the Angels right now just because I have them up on the screen, but Jason Gordon, I'll hit the Pirates too. Angels are 5th in top stack on Stochastic. I have them 6th, but I am 2% lighter. Same situation for value. So I'm a little bit of a step behind on the Angels. Flexing on the hill. I think the problem for me getting to the Angels is that I'm getting to Flex. Flexen is the cheapest pitcher on today's slate. Now, be very aware. Chris Flexen sucks. I think the Angels also suck. So this is going to be a battle of sucking. Normally, you can only find that on Pornhub. Today, you find it in Chicago. I have a little bit of the Angels, 5%. It's Ohapi and Taylor Ward for me. Ohapi is a $3,700 catcher on a 12 or on a 6-game slate. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. They just sort of seem properly owned. Like, they're 8% owned. I think their stack score should be realistically around 8%. They're just a team that I would want to be around the field on. I personally just prefer to get to Flexen because of his price. So I'm 2xing Flexen. That opens up a little bit more of getting to the Cardinals for me. All right, Angels. Wait, that's what we just did. Pirates, rather. So Pirates are 9th in top stack for me and for Stochastic. I have them 10th in value. We have them 11th. We're talking about a difference between 0.0 or 0.3%, 3.4 and 3.1. They're 7th in ownership at 6%. Honestly, I think they kind of look interesting. I'm fading the Savali ownership. I think they're just a little overowned. Honestly, the real problem for the Pirates is price and the fact that they've got those 3 outfielders in the first 4 spots. But you get, $5,600 for Cruz in a park that limits power, $5,400 for Brian Reynolds, righty in a park that really limits righty power. They're not the most cost-effective stack that you can get to. I don't mind using Reynolds and Cruz as one-offs because they're ultra talented, but I just think the rest of the lineup isn't very good. Why not the Royals against Corbin? Well, they're my third most exposed team, and I'm over the field, Steve. So my question is, you should be playing the Royals, but it's a lot more of Pham, Witt, and Perez than the rest of the lineup. But the Royals look fantastic. They're the best overall stack, ignoring the fact that the Cardinals are in cores. Reg wants to look at the Rays. The Rays are the only team that I don't have a single share of. Nobody. Straight 0 across the board. They are stackable. But the problem for me is that I have Reese Olson in almost everything. 60% exposure to Reese Olson right now. I am much higher on Reese Olson than we are, to the tune of 8% higher top pitcher odds. I have Reese Olson projected for 15.7. I'm guessing we have him like 13. Yeah, 12.1. It appears I'm a much bigger believer in the Detroit Tigers today and Reese Olson than we are? Rank Depositor says he just threw 58 pitches, bud. Are you talking about Reese Olson? The only reason I'm saying that is because there's a delay on the stream. He could be anybody. Okay, just making sure. So that is a tricky thing to think about, Peyton, and I want to dig into it because it is something that I did adjust for earlier today. Last 3 starts for Reese Olson, 2 back after missing 2 months, 2 1/3 and 3 innings. I did go 5, which you could argue is too many. 50 pitches and 59 pitches. I believe he had an outs prop earlier today. So his strikeout prop is 4.5 juice to the under. I appreciate you, Peyton, pointing that out. I'm going to take it down another out. I think I'm almost positive he had an outs prop earlier today and it got adjusted. So if I pull him down to 13.5, that pulls the strikeout prop down to 4.6. Yeah, I feel that Reese Olson ownership for me is going to go away. I do think they want to stretch him back out, though, given where they are. But yeah, it was a little high there. Peyton, I appreciate you pointing that out. I'm down to 13.8 as a projection. Here, we can see how that impacts immediately, right away. So I had him at 21% top 2 pitcher. If I rerun my top pitcher sim, we can see how much that brings down 21%. I definitely adjusted that earlier today, and it looks like it had to come down even further. I appreciate you pointing that out, man. Peyton and Rank Depositor, thank you. That's what this show is for. Look, there's 10 people on every team. That's 120 different guys you could look at. Sometimes stuff slips through the cracks. It helps. It helps. All right. So he goes from 21% top pitcher, 21% top value to 16 and 16. So I cut both of those by 5%. Much more manageable now. And we're going to see that 60% ownership that I had come down to like 30 for sure. So that feels pretty good. We're at 11:53 now. Let's talk a little bit more about the pitchers that exist for today. Let me make sure I don't have to change my implied ownership. I don't. So the guys that I most have my eye on, it was Reese Olson. That's going to change on my next run. The guy that I want to pay up for is Mitch Keller. Now, ownership-wise, you're seeing 30% come into Waka. You're seeing 20 to 25 for Keller, Anderson, and Rocker. And I'm taking very specific stands on all 3. I'm way over the field on Mitch Keller. I don't have a single share of Tyler Anderson. And I am close to the field on Rocker. Rocker, obviously, a little bit more limited, but has just straight up electricity in his arm. It's the kind of guy that can go out there and pitch 4. It's a lot like Crochet. He can go out there and throw 4 innings and 9 of his 12 outs are strikeouts. Like that can absolutely happen today for Rocker. But the way that I see pitching is probably more interesting at the bottom. More than 2xing the field on Kyle Gibson and more than 2xing the field on Chris Flexen, 6,700 and 6K. Kyle Gibson in particular, I'm willing to go to Coors and take him. That price tag to me is really appealing. And I don't think the Rockies are any good. The fact that they're getting a little bit of ownership honestly makes it more interesting to me to get to Kyle Gibson. I know people don't like taking pitchers going into Coors, but this is not that kind of spot for me. I'm very happy to get to Kyle Gibson. I don't know if you guys are going to do the same thing, but Gibson and Flexen, Mitch Keller are the 3 that I have my eye on the most. Peyton Tierney says, would rather play Walker or Savali. That was in relationship to Reese Olson. Yeah, these are guys that I'm really not going to have. Savali against the Pirates is interesting. I'm a little surprised I don't have more of him, if I'm being honest, just because I'm not getting to Pittsburgh. It's more that I'm interested in the Brewers, I think, than Savali. There are some guys that I just think that you should probably ignore. I know Steven Leibowitz was trying to talk a little bit about home Kyle Freeland. It's not something I'm getting to. JT Ginn, Tyler Alexander, those three are just guys that like I don't really care for. Corbin, I don't love, but at 6,900, I think it's fine. And given the fact that I'm going to get to so much of the Nats, there's a little bit of a synergy there. But what pitchers do you guys want to look at? Do you guys have another goal for today? I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. If the late game lineups don't come out in the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to start my sim. And then we're going to build lineups in the single game sim for like a half hour. Because I don't have too much else to say on this slate. I think we've touched on most of the teams that matter. I think we've touched on the pitching that matters. I'm going to look at Kyle Freeland's home road starts for this year. Since Steven Leibowitz was talking about it. Ryan, he is 100% not on my radar. He's a guy that I don't expect to have a single share of. Freeland splits. This year, 50 innings at home, 58 innings on the road, a 300 WOBA at home, a 377 WOBA on the road. This is incredible. Here's the interesting part, though. 4.52 xFIP at home, 4.27 xFIP on the road. He has a 270 BABIP at home, a 340 BABIP on the road. It kind of seems like he's just been a little unlucky. Like K-BB has been better on the road. It's really just home runs. He kind of just gave up a little bit too much on the road. Hard contact percentage is exactly the same. 33.3% home, 33.3% on the road. But his home runs per fly ball is like twice as high, close to twice as high on the road. I don't think there's anything to look into there. I think it's just sort of noise. The xFIP numbers are really interesting to me. Left on base numbers are basically the same. You know, he's walking less people on the road, but not by much. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sweating it. Anything for the final games? No, we don't have any lineups. If we get one in the first 5 or 10 minutes, then I'll be able to rerun. But for now, I'm going to grab the updated lineups. I'm going to refresh my projections, and we are going to find out what I actually play for today. And then we're going to build lineups. The czar of the single lineup sim is here to build everything you could possibly want. So don't forget to hit the like button. Sign up. If you guys want the tools that I'm about to display on the baseball side or the NFL side, you're in luck, folks. All you have to do, it's very simple, is click the link in the description of this video, sign up at Stokastic.com, and you guys can join us. Become a part of Stokastic. We're a great place to be. All right, grab an ownership. which did update since I last grabbed it. So we'll drop that in. No projections update. I have one other thing to grab, and then we're good. I'm pumped to build lineups. Mostly, I'm pumped to see, can I build a lineup with the Nats? Are we bringing the hockey guys back this year? I don't have the slightest idea. Give me 1 second. I got to respond to a DM from the boss, Tom Kennedy. All right, let's load my final set of files. Rocker's Aaron Davis. Rocker's pitch count is a little different than most pitch counts because he's rolling in there with like a 35% K rate. And there's nobody else on this slate that even sniffs something that looks like that. Rocker's the kind of guy that you want to get to because his upside is unrivaled. Even in a limited sample, that dude can more than easily be the guy that you got to get to today. Because I have the target score for a pitcher at 20. He can do that in 4 innings, especially on a 6-game slate. Unlike an 11-gamer, it's going to always be hard. On something like this, when your competition is like Pat Corbin and Kyle Freeland and Kyle Gibson and Chris Flexen, we're just not talking about the same thing. All right, projections are all loaded. Did we get a lineup in those couple seconds? We did not. So I need to run my ownership. And then we're going to start building lineups, folks. Early slates are so much fun. All right, ownership is updated for all but the final 2 teams, or final 2 games. You have Rocker at 15% ownership. Let's see, what do I have? I got him at 24, so I'm a little bit higher. Wouldn't be surprised to see it a little bit lighter, but I think 20 makes a lot of sense. All right, sim time. Done. Alrighty, if you haven't seen it yet, today is the perfect day. MLB Sim Tool incoming. Time to be the czar and show all you guys what's what when it comes to building lineups by hand. This tool is the greatest tool we have ever put together at Stochastic. So, large contest, 25% to first. You and I both know we are starting with the Nats. My sneak team for today. No one's rostering them because they suck. Can we find value in the Nats? So best Nats bats to me that have to be in the lineup are going to be, oh, these guys are such poor values. Luis Garcia, Juan Yepez, and James Wood. I mean, we have James Wood not looking good. He's a pay up to be contrarian option. Yepez in. And then I'm going to go Dylan Cruz in. And I'm going to go Tania at third. I'm going to have a real hard time making this look good. Catcher, short, outfield. By all accounts, this is either going to have to be Kansas City or St. Louis. So top value catcher is actually Freddie Vermin. I'm going to try that to start in lieu of Salvador Perez, which then means we got to stay game stack. We can get Bobby Witt. And then I need an outfielder. Garrett Hampson's the best value. Hunter Renfroe is not too far behind. But Tommy Pham is the guy that it has to be. We have 7,500 for both pitchers. We have the number one value pitcher as Chris Flexen. Absolutely going in for me. That allows me to roster Mitch Keller. 91, 68, and 132. I need a new sticky note. Here we go. 52% out of the gate. The genius strikes again. The czar is here. So that's 132.14. ROI of 52. Damn, I'm good. Damn, I'm good. All right. Sticky note is on the screen for everybody. That's going to be hard to beat. 52 right out of the gate. Now we know our ranges. Let's see what else we could do. Because I don't even want to tweak that. I feel really good about just knocking that out of the park immediately. So let's get weird the opposite way. And let's see what it looks like to get to the chalk. St. Louis Cardinals, come on down. And if we go to the Cardinals, Mason Wynn, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Jordan Walker, and feels like let's go to Herrera. Let's try Herrera. So we need second base, outfield, outfield. Who's the best second baseman we can get to? We want north of a 7 projection. Best value is Andy Ibanez. Let's see what it looks like. So we get Andy Ibanez. We need 2 outfielders from the Pirates now. Or from the Tigers, rather. Which is going to be Wenceel Perez and Matt Vierling. 8,700 for pitching. So we could actually go real on pitching. Since we have Detroit and St. Louis, we can take Mitch Keller. And I guess we'll take Tyler Anderson in this case. So now we've increased our projection by 8, but we've also increased ownership by 50. That dynamic is going to be a very interesting dynamic. $33.6. Okay. I can handle that. I can handle that. That's not bad. Easily fixable. I think we probably need... Honestly, we might be able to just make that better by sneaking out one dude from St. Louis. Which I guess would be... If I get rid of Herrera, who's out there for... Who's the Detroit catcher? Jake Rogers. I want to tweak this one a little bit. Maybe try something that isn't Detroit. So the best second baseman that we were able to get to before was Andy Ibanez. In this case, let's try Marcus Semien, Wyatt Langford, and Adolis Garcia. Now we're going to have way shittier pitchers. It's like another spot where we're going to need Chris Flexen. And then in this case, we can take Kyle Gibson. Now, 97-74. So we're still 6 fantasy points ahead of where we were before. But we didn't take as much ownership on. I actually think this is going to be the highest one we've gotten. And it is. And it is. Let's draw a line in the sand. So this one is 97.74, ownership of 157.22, ROI of 63.4. The Czar is crushing it, guys. The Czar is crushing it, as I normally do. Clayton, I'm going to hit yours now. So Clayton has Waka, Gibson. I see Kansas City and St. Louis. So that's going to be Salvador Perez, Goldie, Garrett Hampson, Nolan Arenado, Mason Wynn, Tommy Pham, Hunter Renfroe, Jordan Walker. Clayton, did I get that right? You left 2K on the table there? Did I click the wrong name somewhere? I don't want to. I mean, I'll run it right now. 97.57 and 195. This is going to be too chalky. The fact that you have $2,000 left over, at least I think it's going to be too chalky. We should be able to tweak this very easily. But Clayton, did I misclick something there? Or did you really leave 2K? Not that you can't, but yeah, that's what I expected here. This is basically like a cash lineup. I do think we can make some very easy tweaks. Like Gibson can come out immediately. And we can go to Mitch Keller and gain 1.4 fantasy points. We make the lineup chalkier now. We're up to 99.3, but that can be done. If we're talking about guys that need to come out of this lineup, though, I mean, it's probably like Pham and Perez. Like if we turn Perez into Fermin and we turn Pham into, I don't know, Brendan Donovan. Sorry, it was Witt, not Win. Makes a lot more sense. Let me take a look at that then. So that's going to be Gibson back in. Salvador Perez back in. Brendan Donovan out. Walker, Renfroe, Pham back in, and I'll take out Win and go to Witt. What an interesting little situation there, Clayton, where Witt and Win are like so similar. This is going to get worse for you, not better. 99.23, 212 ownership. For a large field contest, I could be wrong when this pops up, but for a large field contest, this is way, 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 way too chalky. Yeah, 3%. You got to shave aggressive amounts of ownership off of that one. All right, still got some time on my sim. Eric Garcia, let me check out yours here. That's going to be Olsen and Gibson. Going back to Kansas City for Sal Perez. Looks like we're going to Washington as well for Joey Gallo. Luis Garcia. Tena. Witt. Cruz. Pham. Wood. Spends all the salary. 89.66 and 130. This is going to be pretty bad. Not like bad, but it's going to be, neutral to negative is my game. Well, maybe in like the 10% range, because this is 2 fantasy points worse than my original and no real difference in ownership. Yeah, 27. Okay, cut it in half. Looks like each one of those fantasy points is worth like 10% or more. So the other team that I'd like to take a look at, I guess, since we did the Nats, and we did St. Louis, I want to see how it looks to build a Colorado stack because of how expensive these guys are. So as I look at Colorado, Charlie Blackmon has to be a part of it. Tovar has to be a part of it. Ryan McMahon has to be a part of it. I think Toglia has to be a part of it. These guys are so expensive. And then I'm going to go Hunter Goodman just because he has a little bit of pop. Second outfield. We don't have that much ownership, so we kind of go whatever direction we want here. Low in value is going to be our best bet. Semien, I got to admit, does look pretty interesting. So does Bryce Turang. I'm going to run the Texas one again quickly. Semien, Langford, Garcia. Shit, we might not be able to do this. Because if we take Flexen, yeah, I gotta cut one of those Texas guys down to size. I would have to go Tavares over. Let's take Langford out, go to Leotis Tavares. Leaves me 6,400. If I take Flexen, okay. Now we can't take Gibson, so it would have to be Corbin in this case. 90 and 98. This is not going to be good. We would need a different team other than Texas, but I think this is showing how hard it is to get to Colorado. All right, script is done. Round 2. Oh, boy. Not what I expected. But we did... I guess I was looking at the projection incorrectly there, or just thinking about 97, because we only gave up 1.5 fantasy points from that original lineup, but we also cut the ownership by 30, which actually makes me think that we can step this up and try to find something slightly better. I'm going to pull Flexen and pull Corbin. I'm actually going to pull Semien, Tavares, and Garcia. Can I game stack this one? Brendan Donovan, Jordan Walker. I'll do a one-off outfielder to see what it looks like. I can't go Flexen now, which sucks. No, I can still go Flexen. If I go Flexen, Savali, I could do a $2,900 outfielder from any team. It's going to be Sal Frelick in this case. 92.55 and 130. It's going to be like slightly better than the first lineup we built, I think. Although the fact that it's 5-2-1 might change that a little. Yeah, 10. That's kind of what I expected. Can I get something for Colorado? Best value second baseman. Maybe this is the spot where we go back to Detroit. Andy Ibanez. Riley Green, Matt Vierling. Then we get Chris Flexen plus Aaron Savali. 92.18 and 112. So we're up on projection and we cut by 20 in ownership. I think this is going to be really good. And it is. And it is. Man, oh man, I'm great at this. 74.4. Highest one we've built so far. That is how you get to Colorado, ladies and gentlemen. Mostly gentlemen. The best one we've got. Let's clear that out. Actually, I'll clear out the top one. 92-18, 112 ownership. 74.4 simulated ROI. I don't know if all those Rockies guys are playing, but I'll deal with that for late swap. Let's see. So we've got Jake DeWitt, Rocker, and Flexen. We've got Herrera, Yepez, Garcia, Pena, Win, I just could not see Cruz's name there for a second. Cruz, Wood, and my boy Lubob. One off. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Looks so good today. 89, 16, and 112. It'll be okay, but you're giving up too much fantasy points. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it, but just a little light in the shorts. Reg, let me hit that one quickly. We've got Anderson and Rocker. We've got Keibert Ruiz, Juan Yepez, Luis Garcia, sorry, I just got an alert for something. I had to look at it. Tanya, Witt, Wood, Hampson, Tommy Pham. 86, 92, and 140. I could let you know right now, this is going to be the worst one we built. That projection is really bad. That ownership is really high. I don't think this is going to be good. Maybe the ultra low ownership on the Washington stack will save you. Yeah, negative 19. Back to the drawing board, Reg. Back to the drawing board. Okay. Who else can I build? I'm going to look at the White Sox. I know they're not a great stack, but if I can get Lubob in there, he might just save it all. So if we go Lubob, the rest of the White Sox for value would be Vargas, Andrew Vaughn. This team is loaded with value. This is the number one value team. We'll get Lennon Sosa. I'm going to go 4-4 and see what I could actually unearth here. So if we go White Sox, we're taking on no ownership here. Who has like the pay up outfield combo? I mean, I guess it is kind of St. Louis. Brendan Donovan, Jordan Walker, shortstop Mason Wynn, catcher Herrera, 4-4. We're going to actually be able to upgrade this lineup, as preposterous as that sounds. Because the two best pitchers we can take are Keller and Waka, and we still have 2,200 left over. Now we're over on projection, but we're light. We're too high on ownership. So maybe it's like I really don't want it to be Keller and Waka. That's really the issue here. Who's the highest projected catcher? Maybe we could do Kansas City. Salvador Perez, this might be the spot. Bobby Witt, I'm feeling more confident here that it's Kansas City in Chicago. Pham and Renfroe. I'm really curious what this is going to look like. Because we can still do Keller Waka. 95, 2, and 167. Nah, we gotta shave it somewhere. There's something here for the White Sox. I wonder if I could go like 4-2-2. Can I? What if I get rid of Bobby Witt and Salvador Perez? Is there another interesting catcher shortstop combo? Not really. Like if it's Herrera and Wynn, I just have too much money. It's really hard to roster the White Sox because they're so cheap. They're so aggressively cheap. All right. Is my sim done? It is. All right. Final exposures for me. And then we can get on out of here. Appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to hit that like button before we leave. It would be incredibly depressing if you don't get the opportunity to hit that like button. Here are my exposures for today. And I'm going to have to do some late swapping, I'm sure. I am going to drop these into the upload sheet before we do anything else, just so I don't miss it. Always good to get your lineups in. All right. Lineups are uploaded. Here's what I've got. Not a lot of changes here. I do have the Angels. I'm around neutral now to the Cardinals. That has come down pretty dramatically. I have a lot of the White Sox first four: Vargas, Lubob, Vaughn, and Sosa, and no one else from the White Sox. And I think that makes a lot of sense based on what we saw. They can fill out as 2-mans and 3-mans and upwards of 4. Otherwise, tough selling. The Nats are still here for me. I still have a heavy exposure to the Nats. That didn't change. Neutral to the Royals. Over on the Angels, a little bit more than I was before, but that is really just Ward and Neto. Wagaman and Ohapi to a degree. And then the Cardinals are going to be spread out a little bit more. Pitching, we'll see how that Reese Olson exposure changed. From 60 down to 12. Appreciate you guys on that one. Jamming the living shit out of Kyle Gibson, 64% of my lineups. I do now have Michael Wacha, but under the field. Big stand Mitch Keller, big stand Kyle Gibson. The part that scares me the most, I lost all my flexing. Least exposed team for me is the Rangers. 2 shares of Semien. Sorry, 1 share of Semien, 1 share of Nate Lowe. Anything else you guys want me to touch on? Lock in 5 minutes. If you don't have your lineups in yet, you got 5 minutes to do so. Back at our normal time tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And then the big one tonight, 6 p.m. I know it's just 3 games, but myself and Matt Bellman will get you booked for MLB Live Before Lock before we kick it on over to NFL Live Before Lock. It's Thursday Night Football, everybody. You don't want to miss that one. Cowboys and Giants. So, guys, thank you for being here. Another one in the books. I'll see you guys at the top of the relay throw. I'll be the guy in first.